When people visit a website, they often scan the page quickly to find the information they need. Good web design helps users find what they're looking for fast, while poor design can make things confusing. To avoid confusion, designers need to arrange elements on the page in a clear, consistent, and organized way to guide the viewer's focus to the most important parts. That's where the grid system and alignment come in handy. Let's see how it works. For instance, the following website has great colors and a readable font, but the text is hard to follow and the CTA button is lost under the heading. Let's add guidelines at the start of each element on the left, at the end of each element on the right, and divide the space into two halves. This will reveal that the left side is too cluttered and the design lacks consistency, making the information hard to navigate. Now let's align the elements on the left to the left edge and the elements on the right to the right edge. With everything aligned symmetrically around the center, the page becomes much easier to scan. That's how grids and alignment make a big difference in website design. In design, a grid is a system for organizing layouts. It's made up of lines that divide the design space into columns, rows, or modules. Alignment refers to how elements are placed in relation to these lines. Together, grids and alignment create a clean and consistent look. There are different types of grids, and they all serve different purposes. Here are some of the main examples. Modular grid system. This grid consists of columns and rows that intersect to create modules with fixed sizes. It makes designing easier because each element aligns with these modular blocks, ensuring a uniform and well-structured look. Column grid system. This is the most common grid type, where the page is divided into columns, and elements are placed relative to these columns. The 12-column grid is particularly popular because it allows for various layouts while keeping proportions consistent. Hierarchical grid system. This system arranges elements in a hierarchy, with main elements and nested subblocks. It might look like the elements are placed randomly, but they're actually organized by importance and logical structure. Hierarchical grids can be based on column grids to keep proportions balanced. The column grid system is also great for creating responsive designs where elements adapt to different screen sizes. For instance, on a desktop you might use several columns, but on a mobile device, you can easily switch to a single column layout using a modular grid. You can easily add a grid to your layout using Figma. Start by selecting a frame, which will be the base of your layout. Then add and configure a modular grid, or choose the number of columns you need. For a column grid, make sure to leave some space margins between the edges and your content and set the spacing between columns. Let's talk about some basic principles that can help you organize your design elements into columns and modules using spacing and alignment. The first principle, proximity, means that the elements placed close to each other are seen as more related than those spaced further apart. In other words, we naturally perceive the elements located near each other as a group. In the following example, the space between the elements helps you quickly spot the main group, like the headline and button, and then shift your focus to the smaller groups, such as the menu or extra text. Grouping elements this way helps guide the user's eyes to the most important information. According to the principle of proximity, here's a useful rule. For an element to stand out on its own, its internal spacing should be smaller than its external spacing. Internal spacing is the space between elements in the same group. External spacing is the space between those elements and the edges of the block they're in. If the external spacing is smaller than the internal, all the elements in the block will seem like separate objects, not a group. This makes it harder to read and understand the information. In the SendPulse website builder, which lets you add up to 6 columns in a row and adjust the spacing between them, you can easily align elements and create modular or hierarchical structures. All elements automatically adapt to different devices, so you don't need to have any technical background. We'll dive deeper into creating websites with our builder in the second chapter of this course.